Good evening, welcome to 1010 News, your top 10 news in 10 minutes. I'm Andy Hong. Happy Halloween night y para nuestros amigos mexicanos que disfruten el Día de los Muertos, aunque no es hoy. As you can tell, I'm dressed up as a 1010 news anchor. And late last night, alleged cop killer and survivalist Eric Frein was finally brought into custody after a 7-week-long cat and mouse hunt in the Pennsylvania woods. Frein, who was found in an abandoned airport, was taken without much incident even though he was known for his skill with a firearm. In fact, he was armed at the time of his arrest with a handgun and a rifle. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett publicly announced that justice will be served for Frein's suspected ambush shooting of the late Corporal Brian Dickinson and Trooper Alex Douglas, who fortunately survived. According to CNN figures, the search for Frein involved up to 1,000 officers at certain times and costed several $million. And just months after renewed open warfare between the Gaza Strip and Israel, the volatile region is once again at the verge of, war. Israel closed the sacred Temple Mount, Haram al-Sharif in Arabic, in Jerusalem to avoid disturbances after the shooting of a controversial activist and rabbi named Yehuda Glick, who was promoting Jewish access to Muslim holy sites. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called the action a declaration of war, as the restricted area included the holy Al-Aqsa Mosque. The area around the mosque had always provoked dangerous conflicts. The Palestinians claimed that the Second Intifada, the Palestinian uprising against Israel from 2000 to 2005, was triggered when an Israeli politician, Ariel Sharon, visited a complex near the mosque. I seriously think that these people need to look outside their little well and actually recognize that there are other problems going on in the world, especially in a time when ISIS is now threatening to sweep through Kobani and take over major territories just north of Israel. When things just couldn't seem to get worse for West Africa, things just got worse. In the key allied nation of Burkina Faso, mass protests turned violent when the citizens' anger with the policies of President Blaise Compaoré burned down the parliament building. For now, the military in the country, President Compaoré, who himself, but he might as well go on a staring contest with a jack-o'-lantern because the protesters want nothing less than Compaoré's resignation, which happened just a few hours ago. The French Foreign Ministry took strong verbal non-action by condemning the violence, while the African Union and the United Nations agreed, and so far only agreed, to work together to solve the unrest. And we all love our Korean drama, but I do know some people who want the viewing of such material punishable by death. Well, in North Korea, it does seem to be the case. Even as leader Kim Jong-un is devouring Swiss cheese, hosting Disney-themed plays, and hopefully burning his father Kim Jong-il's collection of Western movies, North Korean party officials were executed for watching Korean soap operas. Perfect timing, as the UN is moving toward a motion, and so far only moving toward a motion, to bring North Korea in front of the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity such as brainwashing, torture, starvation, and imprisonment for such crimes as political dissension, practicing religion, especially Christianity, or attempted defection. In response, North Korean officials sent diplomats to several different nations and showed videos of Kim Jong-un visiting orphanages and playing with little tea party sets, as if that's going to do anything. So you're watching this and thinking, man, the Cold War certainly ain't over in Korea. Well, think again, apparently it's not over in Europe either. NATO upped its alertness in response to an increase in Russian Air Force's activity over the Baltic, North, and Black Seas. In one 24-hour period on Wednesday, there were 19 cases of Russian aircraft, especially Tupolev-95 heavy bombers, crossing into European airspace, an action that NATO called unnerving and dangerous due to a potential risk for collision with civilian planes. But we all know what NATO is thinking on the inside: military exercises. Although the recent bout of activity was not marked by provocative maneuvers like when in Top Gun, Tom Cruise gives the enemy pilot a little piece of his mind, it does seem that it's the part of a Russian military drill. I always see people arguing whether Russian or American designs are better in combat. I just hope we never have to find out the hard way. Now we go to Maine, where the state has received more media attention than it has ever had since the beginning of time due to a defiant nurse named Casey Hickox. herself by going on a little bike trip. Soon after, the governor of Maine, Paul LePage, vowed that he will use his gubernatorial powers to keep her away from populated areas. Granted, the doctor who is purported to have quarantined himself in New York City turned out to have lied, and she does not have any symptoms. Even if she did have the virus, it would have been very hard to spread. However, many medical staff who had gone to the afflicted African nations to help have considered self-quarantine a part of their deployment, and some even refused certain outdoor privileges out of consideration to the community. I mean, if you're going to absolutely refuse to take preventative measures necessary to completely ensure public safety, why did you go to Sierra Leone in the first place? Well, in Las Vegas, what happened in Vegas made its way to the FBI. A Hollywood-esque sting operation that involved agents acting as internet repair technicians led to the arrest of Paul Phua, an illegal gambler who is accused of being a high-ranking member of the Asian criminal syndicate, the 14K Triad. The agents cut the internet for Phua's suite at the Casino Hotel at Caesar's Palace, then proceeded to make a fake service call to gain access to his room. When the undercover agents searched for incriminating evidence, Phua, however, is fighting back by saying that the evidence was collected illegally and without a warrant. We may applaud the agents' actions, but Phua's attorney Tom Goldstein has a different take on the situation. The danger here is that agents will cut off not only the internet, but your electricity, your phone, your cable television, or at least you're worried that it's the government. Every time you have a problem in your house, then maybe it's an undercover agent that responds. Now to some extremely significant yet completely unrelated news and an unfortunate break in the flow. Apple CEO Tim Cook came out publicly yesterday and announced for the first time in public that he is homosexual, a quality that Cook called among the greatest gifts God has given to him. In his column in Bloomberg Businessweek, he confessed that he had tried to maintain some privacy, but came out in order to help others who could be struggling with their sexuality. He isn't the only gay CEO in Fortune 500, but he is the only publicly outspoken homosexual CEO. Cook has said that he doesn't consider himself an activist, but there is no doubt that his actions will have, hopefully, positive ripples throughout the business world. And the World Series finally ended after 7 games, with the Giants coming out on top for the third time in 4 years. The 25-year-old Giants ace pitcher Madison Bumgarner became a legend when he claimed 2 winning games for the Giants in the series. The Royals, who have not even gone to the World Series since the 80s, at least gave the Giants a good fight, unlike the Rangers a couple of years ago. Honestly, if the Cubs don't win the 2015 season, I'll be very disappointed. But then again, we don't have flying cars everywhere yet, so I guess we shouldn't expect much from the Cubs. Again, now, if you caught all of the Back to the Future references there, I'm truly impressed. By the way, the Cubs have not won the World Series for 106 years. And for today's science news is about things lost and sometimes found. For the first time in almost 80 years, an aircraft recovery group had announced that it may have found a piece of Amelia Earhart's Lockheed Electra aircraft. Earhart, of course, is the famous female aviator who went missing while attempting circumnavigation. Analysis of the piece of aluminum shows various matches with the profile of Earhart's plane, and the group is planning to actively search the area next summer. Also, the wreckage of a German U-boat submarine U-576 has been found just 30 miles off America's Atlantic coast, where Captain Lieutenant Hans-Dieter Heineck made his last stand against the American Navy with his damaged submarine. The wreckage is a stern reminder of how close to home World War II was and how many young men fought and died in the largely forgotten Battle of the Atlantic. On the other hand, there is one thing lost and will not be able to be recovered: the Orbital Sciences Antares rocket that was destroyed by the operator shortly after a malfunction launch in Virginia. Fortunately, no people were injured, as it was an unmanned supply rocket bound for the International Space Station. I'm actually in a rocketry club in school, and this accident has become something of a joke among us. Of course, the recent developing story of the crash of Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 is one confirmed death and one severe injury is not something to be joked about, and the Ten10 team sends its regards to those affected by the incident. That was 1010 News for the week. I'm Andy Hong. Remember to comment and like us on Facebook and YouTube, and enjoy the rest of your Halloween night. We'll be back next week with more of your top 10 news in 10 minutes.